Why is it that you no longer find joy in being around others as you once did? If this question resonates with you, know that you are not alone. Many individuals in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s experience a withdrawal from social circles they once held dear. It's not a matter of losing interest or becoming indifferent. Rather, something profound has shifted within. More often than not, this transformation stems from wisdom rather than weakness. In this video, we will delve into 6 compelling reasons that might explain your current avoidance of social interactions, even if you were once the life of the party. These aren't just casual remarks. Each one reveals a deeper truth, something that many older adults have gone through, even if they seldom discuss it. Some reasons may catch you off guard, while others may resonate deeply. However, one thing is clear. By the conclusion of this video, you'll gain a better understanding of yourself and perhaps find it easier to forgive yourself for requiring some distance. Stick around until the end, as you'll come to see that distancing yourself from certain individuals is nothing to feel guilty about. In fact, it could be one of the most beneficial and insightful choices you've made for yourself. Let's start with the first. The burden of past betrayals. As time goes on, we accumulate more than just memories. We gather scars. Some are simple to overlook. A disagreement here, a misunderstanding there. Yet others leave more profound impressions. Betrayals, rejections, instances when we bared our souls only to have them disregarded or exploited. With age, we become more aware of the subtle reverberations of those wounds. We cease to give ourselves so openly, not out of anger, but from the wisdom we've gained that teaches us otherwise. Everyone deserves a front row seat to our lives. Take Eleanor, for example, an 81-year-old woman who once hosted dinner parties every weekend. She loved laughter, music, and having her house filled with people. But over the years, things changed. Friends drifted. One betrayed a confidence. Another disappeared when her husband passed away. It wasn't one big heartbreak. It was the steady drip of small disappointments. Now she chooses solitude more often than company, not because she hates people, but because she values peace more than pretense. A form of safeguarding that develops with age, a barrier constructed from life experiences. It may not always bring comfort, but it frequently seems essential. As you accumulate years and witness the swift changes in people or their departure, you begin to protect your time, your emotions, and your trust. This isn't about becoming distant. It's about exercising caution. Those who have aged often have loved profoundly, shared freely, and faced unexpected disappointments. This ongoing pattern encourages you to take a moment, assess the situation, and withdraw when something feels off or insincere. You become more observant. It's not just about what people say, it's about the feelings they leave you with after they depart. Psychologists refer to this as relational fatigue, where the burden of connection starts to overshadow the joy it brings. This is particularly prevalent among those who have faced emotional challenges. There's no shame in this. It signifies a life well lived, a witness to the spectrum of human behavior, both positive and negative. Choosing to create distance now stems not from resentment, but from wisdom. It reflects an understanding that your heart, at this point in your journey, is something precious, and not everyone is worthy of its access anymore. Number 2, the desire for tranquility over trivial conversation. In your younger years, you might have put up with idle chatter that served no purpose. Discussions filled with niceties, gossip, or talk merely for the sake of sound. However, as you age, that patience begins to wane. It's not that you're unfriendly, rather you've come to appreciate the profound significance of serenity. Silence no longer appears void, it feels fulfilling. Once you've discovered that inner calm, it becomes increasingly difficult to sacrifice it for superficial interactions. Consider Harold O'Day. A 76-year-old man with a background in sales was once charming and outgoing, effortlessly engaging in conversation with anyone. However, he now shies away from events that demand constant mingling. He only participates in large family gatherings when he genuinely feels up to it. When questioned about this change, he simply states, "I'm tired of talking just to talk." His preference isn't for isolation, it's for meaning, for honesty, for quiet moments that don't require performance. As we age, our emotional energy becomes more precious. The desire to impress fades, and the urge to prove ourselves diminishes. What rises instead is the desire for authenticity. We seek interactions that feel real, not rehearsed. If that can't be found, many would rather stay home with a book and a cup of tea than fill the room with noise that leaves them feeling lonelier than they did before they arrived. This isn't about being standoffish, it's about being selective. Brings a sense of dignity in choosing your surroundings and the company you keep. You have the right to protect your energy, prioritize peace, and decline invitations without feeling guilty. This isn't avoidance, it's a sign of maturity. The more we embrace this discernment, the clearer it becomes that life doesn't need a crowd to feel abundant. Sometimes a single meaningful conversation or a quiet evening alone can be far more rewarding than hours spent in forced interactions. So if you've been stepping back recently, opting out of the lighthearted exchanges and the bustling events, reveal a truth. You're not growing distant, you're gaining insight. Insight into what nourishes your spirit and what depletes your energy. This understanding is one of the most precious advantages of growing older. If you're still engaged with this video and appreciating these thoughts, please drop a number 2 in the comments to show your presence. And if you haven't yet joined our community, I encourage you to subscribe and activate notifications so you stay updated with our latest content. Your encouragement enables us to keep producing meaningful material to enlighten and motivate you. Now let's proceed. Moving on to number 3, the sensation that others no longer grasp your perspective. There comes a time when you survey your surroundings and recognize that both the world and yourself have transformed. The language has evolved, the principles have shifted, and the pace of life, conversations, expectations, even connections, can feel overwhelming. In the midst of this whirlwind, you may begin to feel unseen, unacknowledged, or just misplaced. This isn't due to any fault of your own, but rather because others seem to have stopped making the effort to comprehend your viewpoint. Consider Marie, a 79-year-old retired school teacher. She once cherished moments spent with her younger relatives, recounting tales from her life, how she raised 5 children, managed a household, worked full-time, and still carved out time for volunteering. However, these days she feels they hardly inquire about her experiences. When she shares, they nod politely, but often glance at their phones. It's not out of malice, rather it's a sense of disconnect. Over time, that gap can feel like a vast canyon. This is one of the subtler reasons people begin to withdraw. It's not that they lack concern, it's that being ekfoyeth. In spaces where your voice goes unheard, the weight of it all becomes draining. Gradually, you find solace in your own company. Not necessarily because it's preferable, but because it feels more secure. You are acutely aware of your emotions, your experiences, and the insights you've gained. Yet when others fail to recognize this, it becomes simpler to withdraw. This form of solitude isn't merely about physical isolation. It's rooted in a sense of being misinterpreted. Even in a crowd, you can feel entirely invisible. You share an idea, and the conversation shifts. You voice a worry, and some might label you as dramatic. After experiencing enough of these instances, you might start to think that silence is the simpler path. Experts refer to this as emotional invalidation, where your feelings are quietly dismissed or downplayed. This issue impacts many older adults more than we acknowledge, as it doesn't manifest through blatant rejection. Instead, it occurs through a series of small moments that accumulate over time. However, the reality is that your thoughts are still significant. Your voice retains its strength. Just because others may not listen doesn't diminish your worth. It indicates that you've moved beyond specific discussions, and that's perfectly fine. Occasionally, the answer isn't to push yourself into their realm, but rather to seek out individuals or environments where you don't need to justify your existence, where your mere presence suffices, and where someone genuinely listens, instead of merely waiting for their opportunity to talk. When such individuals are rare, It's understandable to retreat to safeguard your energy and find solace in your own surroundings. In that sanctuary, you are completely acknowledged by yourself, and that is always something to embrace. Number 4, the anxiety of becoming a burden. As we age, a subtle apprehension begins to take hold. It's not the fear of sickness or mortality that troubles us, but rather the concern of imposing on those we cherish. This feeling is difficult to articulate, yet undeniable. You hesitate to disrupt someone's hectic schedule. You refrain from seeking assistance, even when it's necessary. Consequently, you withdraw. You isolate yourself. This isn't merely a matter of pride, it's rooted in affection and self-respect. It's the desire to ensure that your existence doesn't feel like an obligation. You begin to decline invitations. Invitations not due to a lack of desire to attend, but rather to spare someone the burden of picking you up. You hold back your concerns, not from distrust, but to avoid adding to their load. Consequently, your world subtly starts to contract. Take Frank, an 84-year-old widower who once enjoyed weekends with his daughter's family. As his mobility decreased, he began to turn down their invitations more frequently. When questioned about it, he replied, "I don't want them to have to adjust their lives for me. They have children and careers. I worry I would just hinder them. Although my family has never made me feel unwelcome, the fear of being a burden overshadows my longing for connection." This is the paradox many older adults encounter. The greater the need for others, the more reluctant one becomes to seek them out. The more one cherishes relationships, the more one hesitates to reach out. Having spent a lifetime being resilient, the caregiver, the support for others. Now, asking for assistance feels foreign, perhaps even shameful. This fear is deeply ingrained. Humans yearn for love that springs from joy rather than obligation. When you feel that your presence might be a hassle, you start to withdraw. You prefer solitude over the feeling of being an imposition. Yet the reality is that those who love you wish to be there for you. They might not express it perfectly or articulate it well, but your value isn't defined by how self-sufficient you are. It's defined by your existence. If the people in your life genuinely care, your needs will never feel like a burden. Instead, they'll be seen as a privilege. Still, the fear lingers and shapes behavior. You remain silent when you wish to express yourself. You stay in place when you long to explore. You hold back when you desire to connect. Over time, it becomes simpler to avoid others than to face the unease of needing them. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support enables us to keep producing valuable content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the quiet ending of old connections. Some relationships don't conclude with arguments or goodbyes, they simply diminish. People evolve in different directions. Priorities change, life separates you gradually, often imperceptibly. You don't intend to drift. It just happens. And one day you awaken to find that those who once occupied your schedule are no longer in your everyday life. It's not always sorrowful. Sometimes it's serene, but at other times it creates a lingering sense of loss, as if you've outgrown something you once cherished. You reflect on the meals shared, the conversations, the moments of joy, and you ponder how it all faded away. Did they evolve? Or perhaps both did. Take Ruth, a 73-year-old woman who once enjoyed weekly strolls with her high school best friend. Gradually, those walks turned into monthly meetings, then yearly, and eventually ceased altogether. There was no argument, no dramatic split, just a gentle acknowledgement that their conversations had dwindled. Their paths had separated. Different passions, different paces. Ruth remarked, "We still hold affection for one another, but I believe we've exhausted our topics." It reflects your evolving self. This experience is more prevalent than many understand. Relationships forged during shared experiences, such as raising children and living close by, often struggle to endure when those times pass. As you transition into different phases of life, you might notice that some individuals no longer align with your journey. This isn't a sign of failure. Rather, it's a manifestation of personal growth. As you begin to value your time and energy, you instinctively become more discerning about your company, not out of superiority, but as a natural consequence of your development. You understand your needs well. At times, you just require a bit of distance, a chance to ponder, to contemplate, to be. Those old friends who once brought you joy may now feel exhausting. Conversations that used to be effortless might now seem strained. Instead of pushing through, you opt for some space, not out of spite, but out of a sense of self-worth. Many claim that growing older means losing connections, yet they often overlook that sometimes it's a conscious decision to release ties. You've discovered that being close without true connection can feel lonelier than solitude. So, when you step back from certain relationships, it's a reflection of that understanding. It's not always about steering clear of others. It's about recognizing the transformations within yourself. You've grown, and that's something to celebrate, not to feel sorry for. At some stage in life, you shift from chasing after crowds to appreciating solitude. Not from resentment or loneliness, but because you've uncovered a truth that many never grasp. Your own presence is sufficient. A unique tranquility envelops you when you understand that you don't need to justify yourself or keep others entertained, anyone, or pretend to be more or less than who you really are. For years, you may have been surrounded by others through work and family obligations. In those years, you might have rarely had a moment to just be, to sit in stillness and hear your thoughts without interruption. Once you finally taste that freedom, it becomes sacred. It's not something to escape from, but something to protect. Take Gerald, an 82-year-old man who once lived for the social buzz. His house was the gathering spot, his voice the loudest in the room. But in recent years, he finds more joy in watching birds from his porch than in hosting parties. When asked if he feels lonely, he smiles and replies, "I've got enough stories in my head to keep me company for days." What he's discovered isn't loneliness, it's contentment. This shift often confuses those around him. They might worry or think he's withdrawing out of sadness, but in truth, he's tuning into something deeper, a rhythm that's quieter yet richer, a life that's less crowded but more fulfilling. He no longer feels the need to fill every silence or explain every choice, be accessible to all consistently. This isn't evasion, it's insight. It's the type of inner understanding that emerges only after years of chaos, of selflessness, of pushing your limits for others. When solitude is a choice, it transforms into a refuge. It's a place for healing, where contemplation deepens and your authentic self can flourish. As time passes, you come to understand that some of your most fulfilling days are those spent in your own company. You move at your own rhythm, contemplate your own ideas, and pursue what brings you joy. For the first time in ages, you experience a sense of freedom. Not due to any changes in the world, but because you've finally asserted your place within it. If you're still engaged with this video and appreciating these insights, please drop a comment with the number 6 below to show your presence. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. Your support is vital for us to keep producing meaningful content that informs and inspires you. Now, let's proceed to the final thoughts. What resonated with you the most today? Which of these 6 points stood out to you? Reasons felt familiar, as if they were crafted with your life in mind. Perhaps it was the quiet end of old connections, or maybe it was the understanding that your desire for peace no longer requires justification. Whatever it was, I hope it served as a reminder of one crucial truth. You're not broken. You're evolving. Steering clear of others doesn't signify bitterness or antisocial tendencies. It may indicate wisdom. You've navigated decades of experiences, and those years have granted you the privilege to be discerning, to protect your peace, and to honor your journey. Own rhythm and to discover significance not in the clamor of others, but in the serene understanding of yourself. There is grace in solitude. There is power in setting limits, and there is true liberation in no longer feeling the need to validate your value through popularity or constant social interaction. If you've been distancing yourself from others, take a moment to reflect on the reasons. You may realize that what you've been longing for isn't emptiness, but harmony. Let this video serve as a reminder that even in your stillness, you are acknowledged. Even in your quietness, you are listened to. And even in your solitude, you are never truly alone. Countless others are navigating the same path with grace, courage, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters. Simone, thank you for joining us today. We would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments provides us with great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, we appreciate your support. By liking, subscribing, and sharing, you help us keep producing valuable content to inform and inspire. Thank you for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.